Welcome to the Infield. This is maybe the thing that sets the women program apart in terms of quality over everything else that I've ever seen, okay? I've taken the Infield in this course, and I've not just broken it down once, I've broken it down 3 separate times on 3 different levels. The first level is what we call the classic level, and what I'm doing here is I'm going through the sort of technical, tactical analysis that you've probably seen in other Infield. I'm going over the overview of the interaction. This is very, very important. It's good to have that overall game plan, that strategy to know where you're at. That's absolutely critical. And that's the type of thing that's gotten guys from beginner to more intermediate and even occasionally to like kind of low-level advanced levels. Is just having this game plan and trying to work towards it and then figuring it out as you go. So it's very, very useful. Don't skip that section. But then on the next 2 sections, we're going to go super deep. The next section is what I call the women layer or the inside her head layer. And what we're doing here is we're actually breaking down the infield from the perspective of the girl. And this is the way I want you to think about game. I want you to be thinking constantly from the perspective of the girl. Who is she? What does she want? How is she viewing you? What is she afraid of? What's her relationship to her friends? What's the experience she wants from tonight? When you start thinking along those categories and thinking in terms of how can I make this an experience that she's going to enjoy, which leads to sex, then you're going to do very, very, very well overall. So this layer is what I suggest really, really watching it, and not only watching it for the content, but watch it for the attitude and the outlook. Watch it for what I'm focusing on and learning and growing in that way. Also, as you watch any of the layers, try and generalize. Don't just think about, oh, she said this one thing. Wait, let me wait for her to say that one exact line. Ask yourself why, all right? And that's what the women layer is all about, is asking yourself why. Why is she doing this? What's she trying to achieve by doing this? Who is she? Right? And then also ask yourself when, in terms of not just what's the right thing for you to do, but when, okay? The key thing you're gaining from the women layer is the when and the why of game. So I suggest going over this one, really focusing on the perspective and learning deeply from it. You can watch this again. It's great. You can pause it, stop it, record it, rewind it, watch it as many times as you want until you've really, really got it down. Finally, then, we have the verbal layer. And this is where I just go super detailed and deep. I'm basically telling you in the verbal layer every single thing that I haven't covered in the other layers, right? Especially relating to verbal game. Why it is that I said this particular thing, what I read into her saying this particular thing, why I sped up here, why I slowed down here. It's incredibly, incredibly detailed. You're gonna learn a ton from it. And there'll be things in there that you will not have even thought to think about, okay? It's very, very deep. What I wanna encourage you to do here is absorb it, understand it, do not get in your head about it. Don't try and be perfect. I'm 17 years into game. You're not going to be thinking all the things I'm thinking, but if you pick up on 1/10 of them, you will have improved your game, all right? And just being aware of these things will help you even if you don't always get them completely right, okay? So don't get in your head about it, but do immerse yourself and learn a lot. And again, remember, especially with these later 2 layers, the women layer and the verbal game layer, you can go over them over and over and over again, and you're going to learn different things from them as you go. So if certain points are over your head, take them as they are for now, go out, get more experience, get more advanced in game, come back to them. I promise they're going to make more and more and more sense to you the longer you are in the game, okay? Then we finally have the uncut layer. We have this for a couple reasons. One, because it's like the most requested thing anybody's ever asked of me is they just want to see the sets, how they flow. And there is something to that, right? Watching it as it flows instead of broken up, you definitely do get a different experience. What I really encourage you to do with the uncut, though, is watch the uncut after having watched some of the other layers and then see how many of the things you notice without me pointing them out, right? Really test yourself on this. When I learned foreign language, my dad was a really good foreign language coach. What he had me do is he'd have me watch the thing it was Spanish that I was learning, so watch the thing in Spanish, and I would be completely confused. And then watch it in English, understand it, and then I'd go back and watch it again in Spanish afterwards, and having understood the English, when I watched the Spanish, I could kind of speak Spanish. So the uncut layer is really, really good for you to do, to occasionally just look back at and watch the set with flow so that you can apply the things from all the other layers and you can kind of test yourself and see where you're at, okay? Again, this is all super, super deep. I recommend watching these over and over and over again multiple times. That said, it is a lot of infield. There's, I want to say like 25, 30 hours of infield in there. It's a ton of infield time. So once you've been through it a couple of times, do feel free to sort of skim forward or scrub forward to the parts where I'm making comments so that you don't have to watch the same stuff over and over and over again. And again, treat this as a personalized learning experience, right? Take the sections that you really want to learn from. If you're having trouble closing, look at the later parts of the interactions. If you're having trouble opening, look at the earlier parts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And remember, there is a pause button, a stop button, a rewind button, and a fast forward button. Use them very, very, very liberally to make this experience truly unique and your own.